This is the biggest reason why people plateau. You know how many people I work with and I have an onboarding call with them and I say, what is your biggest problem in the gym? And I'd say 90% of the times they've plateaued. They're not moving forward. My number one response to those people is set yourself up this way. And they say, I train as hard as I can every time I come to the gym. Because we're rewarded for hard work, aren't we? The analogy that I give is running a marathon. You want to work hard if you want to do a good time in your marathon, right? But does that mean you sprint from the start? No, you pace yourself, don't you? So you can have a successful entire race. Same with your long-term plan or your 4-weekly plan or weekly mesocycle, however long that is. Set yourself up so that you can finish strong. Not so you can start strong and then fail every single week after that. If I said right now, you got to do 4x6 at your limit, what do you think you can do? 90 kilograms? Great. I'm going to make you save that for week 3. Week 4, you're going to do 5% more than that, or let's call it 95. Week 2, you're going to do 5% less than that. Week 1, you're going to do 5% less than that. Does that make sense, everybody? Let's think about how you're going to move on week 1 with 80 kilograms. You told me you can do 90, right? How do you think it's going to look on 80 kilograms? Yeah, like you've got reps in reserve. You're going to walk out of the session feeling like you could have done more. What do you think you're going to be able to do on week 2? 85? Of course you can. You can do 90. Week 3, we do what you originally thought you could do. Week 4, I'm going to take you to 95. So this is how I illustrate it to you guys. If I wrote a program for you right now and said, today I want you to do 95 kilograms 4x5, what are you going to do? Today. Yeah, if I said 95 kilograms is what I want, you're going to look at that and go, what? You're going to go, oh, I don't know. Okay? But on week 4, you're going to be able to. Does that make sense? So therefore, strategically, I set you up conservatively to allow room for you to familiarize yourself with the process, the demands of the program, refine the technique, and by the time you come into it on week 4, you've got the competency to complete it. Okay? So that's a tool that I consider to be a hack. And I use that language, even though it's terrible language. There's no hacks, there's no magic pills, but if there was one, that's it. Use that formula forever, and then new program and start that process again. Now here's another way of illustrating this, write this down. Week 1, RPE 7. What's another way of saying RPE 7? 3 RIR. Week 2, RPE 8. 2 RIR. Week 3, RPE 9. Week 4, RPE 10. 0 RIR. Now here's another strategy. 4 sets of 10 RPE, that ain't happening, you just shook your head. Correct. So how can we compromise? Strategic deload. Halve the volume, but maintain the intensity. Okay, so instead of doing 4x6, you're going to do 2x6.
That's on week 4.
Yeah, so that's our deload via reduction of volume. Not a reduction of intensity, okay? By volume. Why did I do that? Anyone know? The biggest contributor to fatigue is the accumulation of volume, not necessarily the intensity. Research shows us that. The biggest contributor to fatigue is the accumulation of volume, not the intensity. However, where do we start on week 1 of the next phase? RPE 7, which is a reduction of what? Of intensity, isn't it? Yeah, intensity and load, same thing. Yep, great. So we're doing both. So week 4 of the program, we send it. That's a fun week. We go as heavy as we can. We hit as close to our limit as we can. So when people ask the question, do you train to fail or do you not? Or should you train to fail or should you not? What's the answer? Yeah, sometimes. How do you know what your limitations are if you've never been there? We need to learn about ourselves when we train. This is what makes us more skillful in the gym. Okay, so it's a strategy of intelligently setting ourselves up to go to our limit. Give ourselves 4 weeks to test our limit. Not on week 1, when we haven't practiced, we don't understand the demands of the program. We don't know how much energy is required to do 4 sets of 6, and then plus the accessories, and then plus whatever else you've got. And then you got squats on Monday, we've got to do deadlifts as well on Thursday. We've got to feel that, so start conservative so we can understand the demands and condition our body to the demands before we send it on week 4. I want to send it so hard on week 4 that I really want to test myself. I can't test myself 4 sets in a row. Here's my trade-off. We halve the sets. Fun? Then on week 1 of the new program, we start again by reduction of intensity. New exercises. It's not just like new exercises for no reason. It's strategic change in exercise and strategic change in reps. Over the long-term plan, every phase we're working on something slightly different. Higher reps, moderate reps, lower reps, peak. Okay, so the exercise selection, there needs to be logical progression of exercises. So I'd do things like high bar in the hypertrophy phase, and then go to a more low bar in the strength phase, and then peak with the low bar as well.
Oh, this is just a separate.
Okay.
As you get closer to competition, do you have less variation?
Absolutely. I have very much no variation. I have pure specificity as I get closer to competition. The most intelligent program could be just the comp lifts. Yeah. So if you're a power lifter, your peaking week is just comp lifts. Squat, bench, dead, and get out. Now, within reason, you can add some low-cost exercises that can work towards joint health. So after bench press, we can do things like rotator cuff. After squats, you could do things like, I don't know, I wouldn't do anything. Hammy curls, low cost exercises. Don't go squats on peak phase and then heavy leg press and then walking lunges, because that's a great glute builder. No time for building in this phase. It's time for recovery. Now, that's like all these really great hacks in 5 minutes. That deserves a week of discussion, just so that you know. So don't just think, so that doesn't matter as much. If you were to just remember one thing and that was it, you've more than paid for this course and some. Okay, and you know more than majority of the fitness industry. Okay, apply that principle to your coaching, to your programming. Set yourself up conservative to be able to add weight to the bar every time you come into the gym. When you finish the mesocycle, so the last week of the mesocycle, work towards failure. We need to strategically test ourselves. Doesn't mean 1 rep max on week 4. It means if you're doing 4x6, test your limitation on 6s. Your 6RM, not 1RM at the end of the program, okay, of that given rep set scheme, push it.